As a young lesbian, I have had an incredibly hard time dating. Whereas a straight or opposite attracted person can safely account for at least the possibility that most people they are attracted to can be attracted back, I don't have that. With what used to be gay culture being acclimated into alternative and popular fashion, even old signals like the undercut, short hair, excessive tattoos, flannel, are all now so popularized that it's hard to identify someone by visuals. There are only a handful of lesbian bars still open around America, and there are no non-sexualized places for LGBT people to meet and interact. Online dating is just as bad. Half of the people I swipe past are married and looking for a threesome. Some of the women I do match with don't bring up their male partners until after we've been dating for days. And on the other hand, there are the others. Despite having my profile match set to women only, I often come across men. I swipe left on those every single time. And then there are the trans women. On paper, I have no problem with trans women. Their bodies and lives are theirs to reign over, and as a part of the guaranteed bodily autonomy everyone is entitled to, they are welcome to transition and live the lives that they please. In fact, they have the right to do so. What they don't have the right to do is to break through what some trans people have called the cotton ceiling. Cotton ceiling is a term coined by porn actress and trans activist Drew DeVoe in 2015. It has been used to refer to the tendency by cisgender lesbians to outwardly include and support trans women but draw the line at considering ever having sex with them. This leads to the inevitable question: why don't lesbians and gay men want to sleep with trans people? Or, in other terms, is not being attracted to trans people transphobic? In recent years, transphobe has been one of the dog whistles used to shut down criticism in just about any argument. Yell transphobe or TERF or bigot, and the person you've levied the phrase against has to backtrack and go belly up to avoid being eaten by the dogs. But the point still stands, even if we refuse to confront it. Why? The reason why the subject is so touchy is because same-sex attraction is the highest form of validation that one can have for their gender identity. When a lesbian says that she does not want to date a trans woman, that is invalidating of the trans woman's womanhood, far more than if a man did not want to date her for the same reason. By viewing homosexuality as an exclusive club, it makes being a part of it seem like a privilege instead of a burden. And it places the burden of acceptance on the cis women who have been told to welcome trans women with open arms. This is, of course, fine and dandy until certain facts come into play. For example, trans women have been socialized as male. In a study by Friedman et al., they found male to females retained a male pattern regarding criminality. The same was true regarding violent crime. Male to female transitioners were over 6 times more likely to be convicted of an offense than female comparators, and 18 times more likely to be convicted of a violent offense. The group had no statistically significant differences from other natal males for convictions in general or for violent offending. The group examined were those who committed to surgery and were so tightly defined that a population based on self-declaration. The study provides strong evidence that policymakers cannot assume A, that trans women's offending patterns, including violent offending, will be significantly different than those of the general male population, or B, that they will be similar to those of the general female population. In a more general sense, the idea itself of there being a cotton ceiling to burst through stems from rape culture and the entitlement that men feel towards sex. Otherwise, why would you need to convince or coerce people who are not interested in you to sleep with you? There is an inherent violence in the phrase itself, and the imagery, parallel to the glass ceiling women face in the workplace, further illustrates this is not a topic of transphobia or intolerance, but a form of homophobia. Another difference lies in how cis and transgender women relate to womanhood itself. Despite there being a rise in both trans men and women in the past decade, the larger debate has centered over trans women. This can be seen in the change of language, wherein the divide is no longer men and women, but men and menstruators or birthing people. This is meant to be inclusionary for the small minority who identify outside of the sex binary, but it really is just dehumanizing. It circles around from being inclusive to being reductive of gender roles in the same way that conservatives and traditionalists are. If I am not a woman but a birthing person, I have been reduced to my genitals in a dehumanizing way in order to include those assigned female at birth who not identify otherwise, and to exclude the trans women that these discussions are not for. In these discussions, no one calls men sperm givers, scrotes, or any other term relating to their sex. Beyond the semantic, it breaks down womanhood into regressive gender roles. The diagnosis for gender dysphoria includes being certain that your gender identity conflicts with your biological sex, being comfortable only when in the gender role of your preferred gender identity, having a strong desire to hide or be rid of physical signs of your biological sex, such as breasts or facial hair, and a strong dislike of the genitals of your biological sex. But if you ask transgender people what makes them feel like a woman, you'll find many who say misogynistic things, such as finding being sexualized, catcalled, or treated as purely sexual objects to be affirming. This can be further exemplified in studies conducted by Blanchard and colleagues, which provided empirical support leading to the hypothesis that almost all non-androphilic male-to-female transsexuals are autogynephilic, whereas almost all androphilic male-to-female transsexuals are not. In other words, non-homosexual men who transition into women are usually attracted sexually to their appearance and performance as women, while those who are homosexual prior to transition are not. Similar trends can be found in trans men populations, wherein many have been involved in fujoshi communities, which sexualize gay relationships for a very long time. Others, such as those who identify as non-binary or choose to disconnect from their womanhood, choose to do so because they feel like being a woman is different than being human. In order to be treated as a base, equal human, they have to opt out of their womanhood. This suggests that it is a sexual fetish for some and an intense feeling of separation from the over-sexualized nature of the ideal woman for others. The most divisive topic regarding lesbian and gay people dating trans people revolves around the phrase gender preferences. It is the idea that genitals, and more importantly one's sex, can be separated from a person's gender identity. Therefore, if you refuse to date someone who identifies as the gender you are attracted to but not the corresponding genitals, it makes you transphobic. But let's unpack that. Very simply, homosexuality is same-sex attraction, right there in the definition. And no matter what gender you identify as, your sex cannot and does not change. Implying that one can change their general preference as if it is a form of bigotry that can be worked on is the same rhetoric used by conservatives and in conversion therapy. Telling a lesbian to just like dick anyhow because it is girl dick is no different than telling her that she can like it if she just tries the right man. Can homosexual people be attracted to trans people who are transitioning to the same sex? No. If you are truly only same-sex attracted, then no. There are a multitude of differences between trans men and women and their cis counterparts, and to pretend otherwise is to lie. This rhetoric has been incredibly dangerous and increasingly widespread, creating a break in the LGBT community. As it grows and stretches, new words and definitions must be created to include as many people as possible. And to that, I remind you of this. Homosexuality is not a majority, or a club, or a complicated subject. It is same-sex attraction, plain and simple. Adding more words and changing the goalposts doesn't change a very basic truth. The more we pretend it does, the more we will progress in the name of progress. This, dear viewers, is where we part. As a lesbian in this day and age, I am simply very tired of the already ragged threads of our community being further worn due to divisive politics meant to place one class over another. The part which annoys me the most is the doublespeak most common in these groups, which hides the truth in the name of social progress. Lesbians do not like dick because dick is a male-only body part, and we are not attracted to the opposite sex in any way, shape, or form. It's pretty simple. You are more than welcome to disagree, but please do so respectfully. I am very excited to discuss this topic with others, but if you have to resort to insults, then you have already lost the argument and this platform. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time.